Okay, so my country is Ethiopia. And beginning with historical development, Ethiopia is the largest and most populated country in the Horn of Africa, which is a region in eastern Africa. It is one of the world's oldest countries and has the longest lines of known history. Its present territory was consolidated during the 19th and 20th centuries. Ethiopia's capital is Addis Ababa, which lies at the center of the territory. Ethiopia underwent many political and social changes. Italy invaded Ethiopia at the start of World War II. They were liberated from Italian occupation with help from the British forces. The Emperor Haile Selassie, before the invasion, was returned to power in 1942. After the war, Ethiopia wanted modernization and recognition. The UN approved the Federation of Ethiopia and Eritrea in 1950, formalized in 1952. Tensions grew and Ethiopia annexed Eritrea in 1962, which led to long-term conflict that continues today. The Emperor Haile Selassie implemented reforms. He created a revised constitution in 1955, but his rule was still largely autocratic. In 1974, a military coup by the Derg, a Marxist-Leninist group, overthrew the emperor, creating a socialist regime. While Selassie's rule was characterized by prosperity, the Derg's rule was characterized by repression, famine, and civil war. The Derg lost rule in 1991 when the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, or EPRDF, took power. And this is the Prime Minister's website. Political regime. The EPRDF created a transitional government of Ethiopia to oversee the government. The EPRDF created an 87-seat Council of Representatives, which was made up of several political parties. In 1992 and 1993, some of the parties left the government, which led to the new constitution in 1994. After implementing the Constitution of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, elections of president, prime minister, parliament, and regional legislators were carried out. Today, Ethiopia has a federal parliamentary republic. Prime Minister is the head of government. While the president does have powers, most governing powers are given to the prime minister. The executive branch includes the president, who is the ceremonial head of state, and the council of ministers. The council of ministers is the prime minister, deputy prime minister, and other ministers and members. In the legislative branch, there is an 108-member House of Federation and a 547-member House of People's Representatives. The representatives vote for the president, who serves for a 6-year term. The prime minister is appointed by the controlling political party. State assemblies appoint members to the House of Federation, who serve 5-year terms. The judicial branch of government is the prime minister, who recommends the president and vice president of the federal Supreme Court to the House of People's Representatives. Administrators appoint them. The Federal Judicial Administration Council selects candidates for federal judges, and the prime minister and House of People's Representatives appoint them. Political conflict and competition. Between 1991 and 2012, Tigrayan soldier politician Meles Zenawi governed Ethiopia as an autocracy with the backing of a Tigray People's Liberation Front, or TPLF, dominated coalition. Ethiopia was at war with Eritrea from 1998 to 2000.
It's Eritrea.
Eritrea, okay. War was followed by a nearly 20-year-long frozen conflict, effectively paralyzing both countries politically and economically. In 2020, ethnic relations within Ethiopia began to deteriorate once again. Election extensions made TPLF angry, and they held local elections. November 4th, 2020, Tigrayan troops were accused of attacking a federal military camp in the Tigrayan capital. Zenawi regime oversaw a rapid development and increased Ethiopia's international prominence, but its government marginalized ethnic groups, including the Oromo and Amhara, to solidify government power. Tensions in Ethiopia's Tigray region threatening to reignite conflict between Ethiopia and Eritrea, or whatever. Tigray's People's Liberation Front, or TPLF, is in a power struggle with the Tigray Interim Administration, or TIA, appointed by the Ethiopian Prime Minister as part of the Pretoria Agreement that ended the civil war from 2020 to 2022. This internal division has led to violent clashes with the TPLF-aligned forces seizing control of key areas in Tigray. Eritrea is reportedly supporting these dissident factions of the TPLF, potentially undermining Ethiopia's ambitions for sea access. The situation is further exacerbated by the incomplete implementation of the Pretoria Agreement, including Tigray's defense forces, disarmament, and the continued presence of Eritrean troops in Ethiopia. These developments have raised fear of a potential war between Ethiopia, which could have far-reaching consequences for regional stability and humanitarian conditions. Between 2020 and 2022, Ethiopia fought a war with militants from its northernmost region of Tigray, which at the time was under TPLF control. This conflict was one of the deadliest in recent human history and drew international attention for alleged war crimes, human rights abuses, and ethnic cleansing. War formally ended in November 2022. Society. Ethiopia is a diverse and full of cultural richness. Ethiopia has a population of around 108,386,391 inhabitants. They have many ethnic groups, including the Oromo, with 34.4%, Amhara with 27%, Somali with 6.2%, and Tigray with 6.1%. Christianity is the majority religion in Ethiopia. 43.5% of the population is Ethiopian Orthodox Christian, while 18.5% are Protestant Christians. 33.9% are Islamic. Catholics only account for 0.7% of the population. 2.7% of the country's residents follow their indigenous traditional religions. Political economy. There is a division between politics and economic power. In the 1990s, centralized economic control often exploited marginalized regions for development, followed by a developmental state model. In 2021 to 2023, there was a strong economic growth of 6.6% annually from agriculture, industry, and transport services. Today, there is high inflation at 23.9% because of food prices and foreign exchange programs. Ethiopia uses the Ethiopian birr, or the ETB, which replaced their last currency in 1931, which is handed out by the National Bank of Ethiopia. And this is my table of average pays based on gender and level of education.
7 minutes.
Foreign relations with the world. Ethiopia's foreign relations are a mix of historical legacies and regional dynamics, including aspirations and global diplomacy. With its strategic location and historical significance, Ethiopia remains a key actor in regional and continental affairs. They have ties with the U.S., China, Russia, Italy, Africa, and the EU. African relations include the African Union, which has headquarters in Ethiopia, and relations with trade partners. The United States has long been a substantial foreign aid, though as of 2020, ties have strained. China is a trade partner and investor, and Russia brings military aid and in the past gave training from the Soviet Union. Today, their relations relate to energy, especially nuclear power. Italy is also a significant trade partner and a direct foreign investment. Lastly, Ethiopia has ties to the EU, and they collaborate in areas including agriculture, infrastructure, and governance. Current issues. In 2015, there was a rapid economic growth, making Ethiopia one of Africa's fastest growing economies. In 2016, there were anti-government protests in the Oromo and Amhara regions, creating a state of emergency. In 2019, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia won a Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts towards resolution between the conflict. In 2020, elections were postponed due to COVID-19, which increased political tensions. A war broke out between the Ethiopian government and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, or TPLF. There were thousands of deaths and removal. In 2021, conflict with the TPLF expanded and the TPLF advanced towards the capital before they were pushed back. In 2022, a peace treaty was signed between the Ethiopian government and the TPLF, ending the major hostilities. In 2023, there were many economic challenges, including inflation and ongoing ethnic tensions. In 2024, there was a political instability along with efforts to rebuild after the Tigray War. Today, people are afraid that there could be conflict again soon as tensions threaten the peace agreement from 2020. And